You say you're stuck, that things aren't working, that no matter what you try, you keep ending up in the same place. But what if you're not failing? What if you're just trying to move forward while still living by the rules of a version of you that no longer fits? What if your growth isn't broken? You're just out of alignment with the person you've already outgrown. You're not stuck. You're just still trying to win a game you were never meant to keep playing. And that version of you you're dragging behind, they built your survival. They held it together. They helped you get here. But now they're in the way. They make you second guess every decision. They apologize for things you don't even believe anymore. They play small in rooms where you no longer belong on the sidelines. They crave comfort when you're ready for challenge. They're scared when you're finally strong. And because you haven't let them go, you're trying to live a new life with the psychology of someone who still thinks they're stuck in the old one. That's what people get wrong about growth. It's not just about adding better habits. It's about subtracting who you no longer are. You've done the work. You've changed your behavior. You've raised your standards. But you're still filtering life through beliefs that were only ever meant to protect you, not evolve you. You think you're making progress, but really, you're negotiating with the past. You say yes when you mean no. You overthink simple things. You apologize for your ambition. You pretend to be fine just to stay liked. And every time you do, a small part of you whispers, "We're still doing this." That voice isn't trying to break you. It's trying to wake you up. Because the part of you that keeps saying, "Why isn't this working?" already knows the answer. You're outgrowing your old life, but you're still living by its rules. You can't create a new reality and expect your old identity to feel safe inside it. Eventually, something breaks. Either the old version of you steps aside, or it drags the future version down with it. And that's the moment you're in now, the space between who you've been and who you're becoming. It feels like confusion, like being lost, but it's not. It's the friction of growth. And the reason it hurts is because part of you already knows. You're not supposed to carry that version of you any further. Not because they were wrong, but because they're finished. You haven't let go. Not because you're weak, but because that version of you was built in survival. They helped you function. They helped you navigate chaos. They helped you get through what no one saw. They don't deserve shame. They deserve a quiet thank you. But they don't get to run your life anymore. Because now that version of you is costing you everything you say you want. Your peace, your clarity, your momentum, gone. Because you keep shrinking yourself down to fit who you already outgrew. You say you want change, but you keep asking permission from a past that never had your best interest. You keep editing your power to stay relatable to people who stopped growing. You keep over-explaining your boundaries to people who were never listening. You keep seeking comfort in patterns that have already proven they lead nowhere. And the longer you do that, the more drained you'll feel. Not because life is too heavy, but because you're holding it all like you used to. Alone, anxious, apologetic. You're not tired because you're doing too much. You're tired because you're constantly negotiating with your own growth. Your new self wants more, but your old self still runs the filter. So, when opportunities show up, you hesitate. When clarity shows up, you overthink. When peace knocks, you don't know how to open the door, because the old you was wired to survive noise, not silence. This is the core tension. You want a life of alignment, but you keep living with instincts trained in self-protection. You want peace, but you don't trust stillness yet. You want to show up, but you're scared of being seen without the old armor. You want freedom, but the cost feels too unfamiliar. So you stall. You hover in the in-between, telling yourself, "I just need a little more time." But it's not time you need, it's release. Let go of the identity that needed to overthink everything. Let go of the one that kept the peace at their own expense. Let go of the one that performs strength while suffering quietly. Let go of the one who built their worth around being needed, liked, safe. You are not that person anymore. And every time you act like you are, you grieve the future that's trying to arrive. And it is trying. You feel it in the restlessness, in the boredom with surface-level goals, in the pain that shows up where passion used to be. That's not failure, that's friction. And friction only shows up when one part of you is still holding on and another part is finally ready to let go. So don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, what am I still carrying that no longer belongs here? And whatever the answer is, it's time to put it down. Let go, not in theory, not as a concept, but actually, consciously release the version of you you've been clinging to. The one who learned how to keep the peace by staying silent. The one who made themselves smaller to avoid being seen too clearly. The one who measured their worth in output, attention, validation. You've survived because of them, but you don't have to live like them anymore, because survival taught you urgency. It taught you hypervigilance. It taught you how to hustle for your place in the room. But what it didn't teach you was how to exist without proving anything, how to show up without a mask, how to choose peace even when no one claps for it. And now, you're here, alive, capable, evolving, but still haunted by the reflex to explain, defend, prove, perform. That's not failure, that's lag. Your nervous system hasn't caught up to your growth. Your mind still wants to play by rules that don't apply anymore. So every time you try to move forward, the old voice kicks in. Play it safe. Don't lose what you've built. Wait a little longer. But that voice, that's not intuition, that's conditioning. And if you keep obeying it, you don't just delay your future, you damage your trust in yourself. Because deep down, you already know. You're supposed to be further along, not in results, in alignment. You know what conversations drain you. You know what projects no longer light you up. You know what behaviors don't match who you want to be. But you keep doing them because they're comfortable, even though that comfort is now quietly suffocating. You don't need to burn your life down. You don't need to quit everything and start fresh. But you do need to stop lying. Stop calling it loyalty when it's really fear. Stop calling it patience when it's really avoidance. Stop calling it stability when it's actually self-betrayal. Letting go is grief, yes, but it's also rebirth. It's the moment you stop managing your life like a problem and start creating it like something sacred. That doesn't mean every day will feel clear. Some mornings you'll question everything. Some nights you'll ache for the old version of you. Not because you want them back, but because letting them go means losing the identity that once kept you safe. That's part of it. That's not failure either. That's growing up. Growing into your clarity, into your wholeness, into a voice that doesn't need to echo anything from the past. You're not meant to carry every version of you forever. Some were only meant to get you to the next door. This is that door. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to stop pretending you belong where you don't. You just have to stop shrinking to make the old life comfortable. You just have to stop calling that "wait who I am." Because who you are now is different, quieter, clearer, more honest. And it's time your life reflected that. So let go, not to escape, not to impress, but to return to yourself. The one you've always been, underneath all the roles you had to play. You're not failing, you're finally done pretending, and that's the beginning of everything.